Wasn't there stuff happening? Like,
there has been stuff happening.
I have a very comprehensive list here in the notes. I have nothing beyond that, but it's just Rojava and then some notes. Ecuador, Haiti, Iraq.
Yeah.
West
Okay. Well,
Papua.
that's all. That's all fun stuff. Hey, what's up? It's Nick. I'm here to give you your weekly rundown of the MLB postseason.
God damn it!
We're currently in the NL and the AL and NLCS. Last night, the Washington Nationals hit the St. Louis Cardinals. It was a pretty good game. Tonight's the first game of the Yankees and Astros. Go Astros!
That is tonight.
Yeah, it's tonight. Oh. That's it. That's all I got.
We have to watch it.
Yeah, we can watch it. I don't really watch them in the morning because I don't pay attention to my phone. Yeah, and then I can watch either if it's a game if the National League games, I'll watch the replay because I really hate the Nationals, and that is like I said 100 times, it's the team.
Not talking about the band. The band is awesome.
Yeah. But everyone in the fucking like NatSec fucking sector just are all Nationals fans, and they're all fucking sickos.
It's called the Nationals, so that's kind of like. There you have it.
Yeah, I mean, baseballs are also the most reactionary sport in the United States.
Yeah, operators everywhere on the field.
Like, or even the fucking athletes look like they're even the athletes look like they're fucking operators. So, yeah,
it's fun.
That is.
You can eat.
You can eat. I mean,
that's fun.
I wish that like the wokest thing you can do in baseball is not rooting for the Nationals, and that's a very low bar. But because every fucking dipshit lanyard idiot in DC is a Nationals fan, so that is the only anti-imperialist thing in baseball. Everything else is pure fascism.
All right.
Yeah, it is also kind of telling the countries that also play baseball.
Japan.
Cuba.
It is like,
no. Wait, Cuba.
Cuba is the only
okay.
one. Yeah. Supporting a Cuban team. Is there multiple Cuban teams?
Yeah.
They have their own league.
They have their own league. Yeah.
Aren't they like super good and they can also like beat Americans?
I mean, some of the best players in the world are from Cuba. Yeah. Like it was like to be fair though too, like a lot of the players who come from Cuba then are like super fucking reactionary.
Yeah.
That is also like none of them are like, yo, Cuba's sick. Kind of wish that existed. Like, but they are really good. Like I don't know.
the ones who get out, presumably.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. That makes sense because it's weird because there's that anime that Netflix did that everyone hated because it started Jaden Smith.
Neo Yokio.
Yeah, Neo Yokio.
I really like Neo Yokio.
I like Neo Yokio, but the spoilers, it does end with like the Soviet race car driver defecting.
What's her name again? She had a great tracksuit. I want that tracksuit.
Yeah.
Or like her racing suit, whatever.
Yeah.
That was just red and had like a hammer and sickle on it. That's fucking awesome.
She was voiced by the what's her name in The Americans? The Russian informant who then gets shot in the head.
Oh yeah.
Thanks
for spoiling.
It was like season 6. That one came out like 3 years ago. She then was like tried as like a traitor to the Soviet Union. They just immediately kill her, which I don't.
Nina.
Nina, yeah, exactly.
Oh no, I love Nina. I love her. She was great, and she wasn't a traitor. She just
but that was the line in the.
I know. I watched.
But then, like the historical context, that's kind of weird because executions in the Soviet Union after Stalin were incredibly rare, actually. So I didn't know how much to believe of that show. It is a fucking American TV show about the Soviet Union.
But my memory of The Americans, although I didn't watch a lot of it, is though that like. The Americans wouldn't fit in now with the like new kind of
Red Scare 2.0.
Yeah, Red Scare 2.0, which is like getting weirdly mixed with like lib Russiagate stuff.
Yeah.
With like 60-something% of millennials in the US say they prefer socialism over capitalism.
Yeah.
Things. Like it's getting weirdly mixed together. So you have like things like Chernobyl and the newest season of Stranger Things and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Yo, the newest season of Stranger Things is fucking dog shit.
That was kind of like they had so much Soviet propaganda.
Yeah, I don't need to hear like an 8-year-old talk about how like good free market capitalism is.
Yeah, exactly. The girl. Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
But that's like Netflix's whole thing is like kind of like jumped on ship to that.
Yeah.
In the past, I'd say like last 2 years. It's almost like something that Gramsci quote.
Except for the end. except for classic Jaden Smith anime,
Yeah.
Neo Yokio, which is very
yeah.
It's great because
the Christmas special is like explicitly anti-imperialist.
The thing of like Vampire Weekend. His name Ezra something.
Ezra Klein.
Ezra
Koenig, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He wrote that.
Yes,
and Vampire Weekend, they're funny. Like
he's like a big Bernie stan and shit like that too, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
It's very clear from that show. It's like he got kind of like his band made it big, and he kind of got invited to all this like new money Hollywood elite kind of stuff, and he just didn't like it. Yeah.
Good.
Cool guy.
That's fair.
I think that we can lead in, right? Like we're
fair.
a little warmed up.
Yeah. So oh yeah. The wider point I was trying to make, sorry, is that
You're fine.
The Americans, I think, happened before this new Red Scare. I think the Americans was actually trying to have like a sobering look at what the Soviet Union actually was.
Oh, no, it was good up until then. Maybe like the bit of the last, because then the last season started going like Russiagate.
Yeah.
But the thing that then the Americans did really well is that, especially like with like race relations between the United States, and I hate the term race relations, so like you have to fucking call it what it is, because the U.S. is a fucking racist, disgusting place, and they had the sense that there was that really ballin' ass like old black radical dude.
Yeah.
And how he then was like a guy who worked with the KGB and this and that and that. And I think that they did a really good way of acknowledging the fact of how the Soviet Union did a lot with trying to help out like the black radical movement. If that, I mean, it came off at least to me that way, because like I know the history behind that as and the thing that then I think was so funny is that then, looking back on that episode, specifically in that season, there were all these like very weird liberal takes after Trump got elected about how like, oh, the Soviet Union were undermining race relations in the United States. It's like they were way like I don't give a shit if they were making it problematic or whatever it was. They were empowering people who I mean, the Soviet propaganda. Okay, yeah, Soviet society was racist in its own sense, but the official line of the Soviet Union was anti-racism.
Yeah.
Now, how true that was or not is obviously a big question, but nonetheless, within the United States, that there was a very clear line of like that they continuously equated, fascism with the racism in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that, and actively sought to destroy that, and actively sought to then like support anti-imperialist struggles internationally. In 2018, there's I have to find that New York Times article. It is bad, and it's like, oh, they just did this to undermine the U.S. It's like, no, they did this because the U.S. was a dog shit racist society.
Yeah. I mean, the best take you can have is like they supported the correct guy because it would undermine us. I mean, that's like. If that's the worst case scenario, then it's like...
Then that's good.
Yeah.
You literally end up defending white supremacy if you say the opposite.
Do you know those like Soviet posters with a Chinese man and like worker and the Russian worker? The love story that looks like they met each other in a steel factory, and then they got like... They married and
it's
got
hot.
Kids
I do know a friend of mine who was like, if I get married to a Chinese guy, I'm just happy.
It's going to be this one.
These are posters I'm putting up on our wedding.
Yes, definitely. I think that's a love story everyone wants to see.
Hey. Welcome to your weekly Corner Späti. We got myself, Nick, here, hanging out with two of my pals. Ciarán.
Yo, ich bin Ciarán. That was Yiddish.
Sounds a lot like German.
It sounds a lot like German.
That's true.
And Julia's here.
Yeah, that's me. Hi.
Oh, you got nothing fun?
I don't know.
Okay, whatever. And this should be the last week of Where is Rob? Send back our dear sweet Rob.
Mm-hmm.
We will give you any ransom money that we have, all the $12 or whatever that.
It is like a game of Where is Wally, except it's very easy to find him because it's.
You say Where's Wally?
Yeah, it's Where's Wally in the UK and in Ireland and the rest of the world.
Where's Waldo? No.
Waldo's not a real name.
Well, it's Walter in German.
Wo ist Walter?
Wo ist Walter?
Oh god, it's disgusting. You all are gross. I don't.
In fairness, it didn't make sense because the bad guy in the cartoon was it Aldlaw.
Okay, whatever.
Because it was Waldo backwards, but it was still Waldo backwards, even though he was called Wally in our version. That's the whole thing.
Okay, whatever. But yeah, no. Rob is he should be back with us next week. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. If he does decide to come back from Georgia or not, maybe he is set up camp there. He is destined to find Stalin too. But
he's in Abkhazia fighting the Abkhazian cause.
Exactly. Yes.
Keep hanging in there, guys. It'll happen eventually, maybe.
But yeah, this week's been shit. I don't know how to put it any other way. Like I've not been wanting to do this episode.
I've been like on the edge the whole week.
There's no jokes to be had.
No.
There's no jokes.
I've been constantly on my phone, like checking. It's a weird word, the live ticker for what is going on
whenever
right
something gets too real, the other hosts, Yulia and Nick, will point to me, and I will say the name of "Where's Waldo" in another language. That's
Yes,
the
please.
only thing that will possibly lighten the mood.
Yeah. So we have gonna try to tackle two big unhappy topics. The first, I mean, both very much in the news, like the last week. One being the the U.S. ditching the Kurds in northern Syria, and Turkey immediately just being like, "Yo, what's up? Imperialism is sick."
He said that before. Like,
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
He's been saying this for years.
Yeah, but he said that he will make this move, and it was clear. Like he said that earlier this summer.
Yeah.
And
It
people were already.
was like in the last election campaign.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was.
A year ago, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, not this summer. Yeah, the one. Yeah.
I know it was this summer, wasn't it?
He said it again.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
summer. Like he constantly. Talks
No.
about
The
it.
election was this summer. You're right.
The regional ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that, and then the attack terror.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can call it terrorist
is.
attack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah.
Come on.
The terrorist attack in Halle,
Yeah.
at a synagogue, and then also what was the other place?
Oh,
Also in the east as well.
yeah, but it was like a 20-minute drive from there.
Yeah.
Like Ansberg or something like that.
It doesn't matter where it was, but it's also in the east, and not at a synagogue because the synagogue couldn't get to.
He couldn't. So, do you want me to just run through the kind of events? Of
I guess
what
no.
happened there?
We'll do that when we get to the thing. But yeah, nonetheless, there was
It was
two
a synagogue.
Yeah, two right-wing attacks on the same day in Germany. We're not going to be talking about the events themselves, but kind of like the things that then encompass them with right-wing extremism here.
Yeah, I think it would be worthwhile just like running through the events
Of
briefly
course.
because
Yeah.
I've also noticed this story hasn't traveled very internationally.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. Well, but first back to Rojava. So.
Do you want to go through it?
What basically happened is the U.S. earlier made the Kurdish forces in this area, but not only Kurdish forces. It's like there are a lot of different people in
The SDF.
Basically, the SDF. Yeah, making the forces in the area, like the forces of Rojava, the SDF, make them give up their key defensive positions on the border. After the stuff with Afrin happened, saying like, okay, this is going to be like a joint security area, kind of like
early 2018. That
happened. Exactly. Stuff like
Peace
that.
corridor, I think is what they called it.
Peace corridor.
That's the thing now.
Oh, that's
The other one was Operation Olive Branch.
Right, yeah.
These all have horrible fucking
Yeah.
euphemistic names.
Yeah. Very 1984.
He just should have called it Operation Ethnic Cleansing because that's what is going on right now.
We tried the branding on that one. It didn't fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So and Turkey just like immediately when the U.S. withdrew their troops, even though there are still troops in that region.
There's like 50 or something.
Yeah, not so many though. Turkey started to attack. Like there's a very not nice, but a very fitting word for that in German. It's called Angriffskrieg. So it's like when a war starts with like an attack. So it's like an Angriffskrieg. So it's something that is just
Something that Germans really we're fond of.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that then, like as we were saying earlier, it really is kind of something that Erdogan's always been very open about, and I think that too, you have to, in order to we'll obviously talk about this more when we have someone who knows more about us than we do on the show.
More about us than
knows more about it than we do
Yeah.
on the show,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
think nonetheless, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
Julia and I can talk about it at least a little
Definitely.
bit.
Yeah.
It would be weird if we didn't mention it this week.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
And I do, and I know that Julia also feels confident enough in talking about this topic
Yeah,
and not getting information wrong. So I think that then it's kind of the thing that you have a political system in Turkey that then just like automatically underwrites that like Kurdish people aren't people, which is really weird because in the last election, even the Kurds supported the CHP, who were actually anti-Kurdish.
Yeah,
and
CHP.
they even went and underwrote this attack, saying that this is a thing that then Turkey has to do because Erdogan always then says it in the sense of like this like refugee pact that he has with Europe.
Yeah, well, so the thing is, you mean like the CHP right now, like what they said?
Yes.
Yeah, they basically like so the head of the CHP said something like I wish for the troops to win this and so he basically like wished the troops like to be successful.
Yeah.
And it's like a typical stuff that the Kemalists in Turkey do. Like for maybe for a short second they were saying they would say like, oh yeah, we are like for a Turkey for all, but at the same time they start being like very like they have this weird Kemalist take in their party that they're kind of like maybe social democratic in the sense of like when it comes to
Social things,
yeah,
like the state market relations.
Exactly. But not when it comes to like ethnic relations.
Yeah,
in the region. Yeah, they would a lot of the time.
The elimination of Kurdish culture happened under Kemalists.
Exactly.
Throughout the history of modern Turkey. And I think that we
So-
forget that because we imagine then the CHP being anti-Erdogan, but they're actually not anti-imperialist in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
Erdogan is also like a relatively new phenomenon in Turkish politics.
Yeah.
Like he's not like he is. When was the rise of Erdogan? It was like early 2000s, right?
Yeah. But he was because it was that thing of that then Erdogan was like kind of touted
He
around
was-
as being the reformer and this.
He was supposed to lead Turkey to the EU.
Yeah.
So like that was his whole shtick. And
But like the suppression of the Kurdish people within Turkey is older than
It's an old
Erdogan's
thing.
politics.
And
definitely.
you have the 80s and 90s the fight with the PKK
Yeah.
in East Anatolia that then is very much in the memory of the AKP of like why then it justifies this so much. To be fair, did the PKK use tactics that then are like that may or may not have targeted civilians, like whatever? I mean, like that is they did some, and even like Abdullah Öcalan goes and even says that then like the tactics that we used like weren't the best, and that they were maybe like a little bit too extreme, but still nonetheless you end up in like a civil war on then like in the rural parts of Turkey, in the Kurdish areas and whatnot, and Erdogan, not just Erdogan, but in the 80s and 90s you have then the PKK deemed as a terrorist organization by Turkey, and then by
also
the West
in Germany. Yeah.
There was kind of like the same fear that then Germans have now about then like if you buy illegal products that's going to go and like fund Hamas and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
That similar thing then goes into the sense of like how the PKK, they were like warning about like don't buy illegal cigarettes, you may like fund the PKK.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm buying all the cigarettes.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy all the illegal cigarettes.
I'm imagining the fucking anti-piracy ads that were in the UK. Like, you wouldn't fund Hamas. It's just someone downloading a movie.
That's the same.
Ah, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and the thing with then that has come down to, which I don't want to get in trouble for anything that then I say, and I don't want to then put words into someone's mouth. The PKK, the YPG, and the YPJ are there is a historical link between them. You can't deny it. Are they related though? Are they like actually like the similar? Are they currently related where they're actually working together as one solid organization? And the PKK, and the YPG denies that.
Yeah.
The SDF denies that too as an entire organization because they kind of have to with them when they got help from the United States. However, Trump admitted that the United States was helping the PKK in a press conference the other day. Just like it slipped out of his mouth. He's like, the PKK, we've been helping them. You know, those are some pretty tough guys. You know, you don't want to mess with them.
Guys.
And it was like when he said that, I was just kind of like, wait, what? Like that's like something that Turkey has been like using as a propaganda tool against that for the longest time. And Trump just like nonchalantly is just like, yeah, bad guys, tough guys. You know, we helped them out though. And that immediately then was used by Erdogan and what's the fucking foreign minister of Turkey? Doesn't matter. Yeah. I think it's like Mehmed.
Johnny Turkey.
Johnny Turkey.
Johnny Ankara.
Yeah. But nonetheless, so there's been like the historical backdrop of it that is always...
oh Jesus. Help me out here.
It's like
it's Mevlüt. No. Mevlüt Çavuşoğlu. Yeah.
But
he looks exactly like I imagined he would look like.
Yeah. He's yeah.
He sure is bald. That's not a real mustache.
No, it is definitely a real mustache.
Okay.
That's like that look. No, sorry. This is very a little too lighthearted. But that looks like he shaves the rest of his facial hair and his mustache on different schedules, so they grow back in at different speeds.
Interesting.
I believe that.
Yeah,
that's just tactical. And he's the defense minister. So.
You know, that's getting shit done. That's like some startup productivity logic.
Yeah, but this nice Mister with a mustache, he actually said that they are fighting women's terrorism. They're not attacking the Kurds as people, but they are fighting women's terrorism.
Which is sick.
Hang on, which is terrorism for women or by women?
By women, committed by
I don't know,
women.
like whatever.
For women, by
yeah, literally, like, how do you...
Terrorism for her.
Like, the only...
It's just the ISIS flag that's pink.
But yeah, I mean, a perfect, little weird segue as horrible, but yet true of the fact that it is that then it is. I guess we have to step back too. That then the AKP being neo-Ottoman also holds these incredibly reactionary values.
Yeah.
That everything about Rojava obviously stands against.
Exactly. For example, gender equality.
Gender equality. And the thing that then even probably the most amazing within the region is LGBT rights. There have been anarchist LGBT brigades that have fought with the YPG, and it's actually been a thing that they've had to kind of grow into, because at first they weren't accepted within it, but they were allowed to fight alongside because they were Antifa. And the thing that then's really interesting of the democratic structure of then within Rojava is that it whatever the democratic confederalism, whatever it's officially called, but it ends up looking more kind of like a Marxist-Leninist state, but whatever. Just because they're in war right now, I think that's the thing that has to be specifically looked at upon right now. But nonetheless, there was a lot of kind of self-criticism within the organization of them, that these people were forming these even some, I think there's even trans brigades, which is even one of the coolest.
I think it was because parts of the army were very democratic, so you could just form your own brigade basically.
Yeah. Exactly. But and then the thing is that then this is, I think we have to take a step back too, and that Rojava is a great project, but there is a lot of reactionary elements within just kind of this military based structure that they've kind of adopted themselves into, but still nonetheless that they've been able to then work through this and have, even think about the amount of factions of leftism that then have come and internationally. You have Maoists, you have anarchists.
That's what I call uniting the left.
Yeah, literally. You have a massive amount of support from Turkish Marxist-Leninists.
Yeah.
And it really is a left, not a left-wing project, but just a project in general that has to be defended. And you mentioned the ISIS thing about, silly enough, the flag. Yulia, you want to talk about that?
Can I say something? Yeah.
Go for it.
Can we? Sorry, before we go into that, because I feel like I know what you're going to say. Should we just outline the fact that this? Because I don't think we mentioned enough that the military invasion, like we talked about the background and how this has come about, but we should say the military invasion started Wednesday just passed, as of recording, as of when this episode comes out, Wednesday last week. Yeah. Fighter jets immediately went in, like you were saying, like an immediate attack into the town of Ras Al Ain. So that just say that's actually begun now. This is not just like
it's happening right now.
Yeah, it's happening.
It's happening right now.
By the time that this episode comes out, it'll still be going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
ISIS.
Speaking.
This ties into the last
about the good guys
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the thing is, okay. So like the YPG and YPG, why are they so important? Because they were basically the ones like doing all the fucking work, like fighting ISIS.
Yeah, which then the United States immediately took credit for.
Exactly. But those were the guys.
Right?
Huh?
Yeah. They took Raqqa. Which is
those were the women and men that were fighting like ISIS on the ground and that like really liberated cities and
I would say probably like 90% of the fighting that they did against ISIS was mostly the SDF.
Yeah.
And the US was credit for it.
The women, as far as I remember the reports, the women were quite effective because the strict beliefs that the people in ISIS had was that if they were murdered by women, they'd go straight to hell.
Exactly. And
so
that is.
I'd imagine they probably also had a similar reaction to the queer LGBT brigades.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yo, that's fucking sick. Like, just imagine.
We have superpowers here.
Yeah, like imagine like you're queer and you're already like better than everyone else to begin with, but you also have the fucking power of sending ISIS members directly to hell.
Yeah.
Because you.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that thought. Yeah.
More queer people need to kill members of ISIS.
Yeah. Already, like we all know that Turkey is not like, I mean. They like to hide that they are quite into ISIS and of course like Erdogan saying like he's the only probably like bulwark, so like the only protection to Europe like when it comes to ISIS, but also
I mean it's really weird when you build camps for ISIS. That's a weird way of saying that you're against them.
So
there was a camp right near the airport in Istanbul that happened to be an ISIS training facility?
No, they're not camps, they're gulags. It's the other way around this time.
Well, yeah. So when the attack on Afrin happened, you had already a lot of like Islamists, like members of like different Islamist groups, Islamist
like
groups,
Al-Shabaab, Al-Nusra,
exactly, joining the Turkish forces because they really wanted to like kill the Kurds.
The Turkish FSA, which that's a fucking mess of an organization.
And I mean,
the Free Syrian Army.
To be fair, like when a Turkish newspaper like labels the whole stuff with saying like Muhammad's army is coming to kill the infidels. I mean,
news.
and I like just really quickly.
That sounds like something like it would be attractive to me if I were a ISIS member.
I'm just now combining this with like 1940s like news like gumshoe like reporters like, well, sir, Mr. President, what do you have to say that Muhammad's army is coming to kill the infidels? What do you say about that, sir?
Or just like 1940s ads of joining the military.
Yeah, so
join Muhammad's army today. Muhammad needs you. And it's just a picture of no one pointing at you.
Oh my god.
Or just the script that they can use. And then just a finger coming out of that.
So actually what a lot of people in the region were already fearing is that Turkey would come and free a lot of the ISIS prisoners that are in the camps. That are in the camps, and I mean there is this camp in Al-Hor. And there's another one I forgot that is very close to the French and U.S. bases. So yesterday, like
they accidentally attacked them.
Yeah, Turkey accidentally attacked that.
That they knew existed because they had used these bases.
Exactly, and so I mean, I've only like read two things about it actually. Like I have read like one tweet about it, and then a tweet by an American. Saying like, oh yeah, they knew the positions, like because they are NATO partners.
Well, the U.S. then, the U.S. even, I forget who it was. This is really weird, and I don't like. I don't know. It's kind of like seeing that like two nations you really fucking hate getting in a fight, and I kind of want to see it happen. But
the U.S. and Turkey,
and I think that's like there's just like there's two things.
Russia and
France.
France.
This is for Versailles, bitch.
Like there's like I think that there's like I think it's like kind of like take this in steps. Is that like one, like the U.S. is always going to ditch the Kurds. Like that's
course.
always
And I find it kind of like, okay, what I find wrong right now is like what a lot of like Western news do is acting like as if the Kurdish like are now like as if they didn't know.
No, of
as
course.
if they were dumb enough to believe that the imperialist power in that active in that region would actually stay by their side. I mean, you can't tell me that.
It was also done because there was a split between the left, particularly online, about like like basically abandoning Rojava for being involved with the US, and anyone who supported that, like who supported Rojava, was a rube who'd been done in by the US. It's like, well, no, we knew this was going to be shit when it ended.
And I think that like I think Karl Zsa has probably the best take on this, because he I think he even pointed out during like the Afrin offensive that's like the smartest thing for Rojava would be to ditch the US and align themselves with the Syrian military. It does jeopardize the autonomy of the region, which is a big part of that. That is like that is a thing.
That's where a lot of the revolutionary potential comes from.
You know, but at the same time, is that like you're struggling for then just like an actual existence of you as a people, because Turkey doesn't see you as that. You know, and I think that then eventually, and the SAA and the SDF have been in talks over the past 2 years. They've never actually. I think that there was one case where the SAA almost came to their defense. The SAA being the Syrian Arab Army, so Assad's military. Say what you want about Assad.
So you want about the U.S.
About the U.S. exactly, but there was like there, that. I think that the wrong take, which you do see from a lot of us just really dumb like PSL members in the US and whatnot, is that then because Rojava was getting assistance from the United States, it then automatically made them like a CIA op. And which is just childish, and it doesn't remotely understand the history of the Kurds.
To be fair, like seriously, exactly.
And not
if we talk about the history, exactly. You can't like have. I mean, we had a fight with someone that is like, you have this take in a lot of like, leftist groups that think, okay, this is not perfect and we want it like this. So like Rojava is not like cool or is probably like a CIA, whatever, you know what I mean?
Well, basically people who, even if they don't believe it was a CIA op, just we're willing to throw them under the bus for aligning with the States.
Exactly, and that is kind
of... They're aligned, they're aligned with the U.S. to get weapons.
Exactly.
A couple of airstrikes.
When you're in that region and when you're like surrounded, like not surrounded, but like you have Turkey on the other side of the border. Like
who does not recognize you as people.
Exactly. Of course you can like get the weapons that you need. Like I would. And it doesn't matter in this because this is just it was a strategic alliance, and it makes sense if you want to fucking like stay alive in that area, and this is like really about staying alive. This is not about like diplomacy or something like that. This is not about making friends with the US. This is about staying alive and keeping this project that is a singularity in that region, or like probably all over the world. Like,
I mean, it is one of those radical socialist projects since maybe like I don't know, Republic Spain. If we want to then go,
there's a lot of parallels, but I think Zapatista is probably the most recent.
Oh yeah. And to keep that going, you have to make these strategic alliances.
And Rojava is still, regardless of getting stuff from the United States, they are anti-imperialist.
They don't get incriminated by that. That means they don't take over like any ideas that they get from the US or anything like that just because of the weapons.
And the thing that I think a lot of people forget too is that then even when they were in this alliance with the United States, alliance in very big quotation marks. Turkey was still bombarding them all the time. So
it didn't really change.
It doesn't really also then feed into the narrative that they're like this incredibly like I don't know, pro-US is the weird thing, but that they have like the US's protection because they actually didn't even then.
I think the other thing that like you have to kind of dismiss is the people who are online who might be going like it was forever thus, kind of like, because it wasn't. Like the Syrian civil war has been this like international geopolitical quagmire for the last how many fucking years now?
It's almost been a decade now.
It's almost been a decade, and this is not necessarily the way this could have ended. The Syrian, the Rojava project could have been in a very good position if, say, U.S. strategic interests won out. Basically, there's nothing to be said that this couldn't have resulted in like greater autonomy within a new like reformed Syria or whatever the fuck. But like, people who are being smug about it, just fuck off. People are dying.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because like you see what is happening in the like South Anatolia, for example, in like the Kurdish cities. Even if you try to like gain some autonomy,
you're arrested.
You are arrested, exactly. Like a lot of the HDP, HDP, candidates mayors that were like mayors in the town in the regional elections were removed, and it happened before like Afrin as well, and it's the same right now. And you had like cities bombed in Turkey by the Turkish military, people fucking dying in Turkey, in the Kurdish
destroying
cities,
agriculture,
exactly.
And shit
so
like
what
that.
the fuck if you see that happening like just like next to you, because Rojava is on the border to Turkey. Of course, you wouldn't like say no to anything that it is like a constant threat to be at the Turkish.
And I think just simply like the last thing to like go before we go and talk about other right-wing terrorism, because this is all right-wing terrorism, is that just on the thing of it, like, I mean, because you see this on Twitter a lot, especially in like the Anglosphere of the left, and you see this a lot with like, I mean, like PSL, whatever the fuck they are, that like really weird Marxist-Leninist in quotes party in the U.S. is that. I've seen them all now have Turkish flags on their like sites and like on their pages. A very like weird bunch of people. PSL.
Okay.
They're there's a very weird group of. This isn't saying that then every member of this group is bad, because there are good Marxist, Leninist, anti-imperialists in this group. But I've just kind of seen this as
they have
like
Turkish flags.
I've seen some of them like literally like.
So they have pro-Turkey.
Yeah, like
Turkey
if you are a leftist or whatever fucking thing you are, that then you think you're a leftist and you're defending Turkey, you are defending one of the most genocidal regimes in human history of the last 100 years. Turkey's entire history has been nothing but an elimination of people and an eraser of cultures that have existed there. Whether it be Armenian, whether it be Kurdish, whether it be Greek, whether it be Assyrian. This is the entire this is. Like you're not revolutionary or anything for thinking that because you may think that this is a CIA op. You are a fascist at this point, and you are not a leftist. Yeah. Just simply put, I'm taking your card away from you. That's it, and I have the authority to do so.
Just to mention it, there's actually also a lot of like solidarity coming from Turkish Marxist groups.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and just to mention that, like, because it gets like a lot of the time, especially in Germany, it sometimes
likes that argument.
Takes a racist turn.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, to actually like.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
I know that I can confuse it. Like a lot of people can probably hear me talk and think that I'm like a massive racist against Turkish people.
You're Greek.
Stop hitting that small Turkish child, Nick. No, stop.
No, but it is. You're absolutely right. It is a thing that then we have to realize.
It's important to mention. Like today at the anti-colonial demonstration in Berlin, you saw a lot of like Atik, so like they're Turkish, right? They're like the workers.
They're Turkish workers in Europe.
Yeah, in Europe. Union thing, marching alongside.
There's a lot of Turkish people in the YPG.
Exactly.
This is exactly. There's like, if you thought like some lad from Manchester was willing to travel to support Rojava, then you better believe the people in Turkey were like willing to do the 20-minute trip to get there.
And the Turkish Marxist-Leninist parties and shit like that have been unbelievably valuable to the project of Rojava. Same thing too. If you're Marxist-Leninist in the West and you think that you're edgy because of that, look at the fucking Marxist-Leninist parties in that region and their opinion on Rojava. Yours doesn't matter.
Yours
Theirs
doesn't matter. Exactly.
This is something that came up in the Discord. Join the Discord. Because someone did ask, is there like resistance within Turkey? And the general answer is like, if you ask this of any country, the general answer is always yes. There is always something.
Yeah, of course.
Like Turkey is a huge country, like 80-something million people at this point. Yeah, and but it does highlight a point, which is I think that's happening in a lot of media, even well-meaning media, that paints Turkey as being
a
very
homogeneous.
very politically
Yeah.
like minded, all thinking the same thing, all like Erdogan stands. When there is a wide range of political thought, including like useless liberals and like,
Kemalists.
the Kemalists. Yeah. So it is kind of like. It is going to be interesting to see like that kind of stuff, and you don't throw like this is all shit, but don't throw like Turkish people under the bus.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah,
But throw racists under the bus.
Yeah.
Fascist, racist, all of those guys.
I do feel that then I particularly have to like make a clarification about that, is because I do talk about Turkey in a very specific, weird, sense.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that then in the sense of that then. Yeah, like I really hope that I don't come off as then like in a way that is like. This is a cultural thing, or this is a whatever racial thing. This is simply in the sense of a historical hegemony of racism that then exists from a ruling group within Turkey. That doesn't mean that then Turkish people are obviously
they're not born hating Kurds.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Greeks or Armenians.
Or Armenians or whatever it is, and all this is fabricated by a ruling class within Turkey who benefits from. I mean, it's just the same type of shit that then of that imperialism then always kind of does. Is that this type of thing? This gives an excuse for the expansion of then this new weird Turkish empire that Erdogan wants to build.
One more thing, like, okay, if you now that you're like maybe in Germany or something, sitting hearing this, thinking like, oh yeah, but what do I have to do with that? Here it goes. Like,
there's a connection between Germany and Turkey. What?
Never. What are you talking about?
Why nobody actually like gives a fuck in Germany is because we have this nice refugee deal with. It's a great name, refugee deal. Come
on down to Germany's refugee deal. I'm so crazy. I'm giving these refugees away. $4.99, $2.99. Don't have to make deals with those pesky Libyans. Oh god,
yeah.
1940s American boy, like mid-Atlantic accent, just makes everything funnier.
I'm imagining now, like the U.S. like what's it called? This like the really like tough sounding radio voice. That's like. Come on down to Sanderson Toyota, where you can get one refugee for the price of $5.99. $5.99
with every Jeep Cherokee. Go on.
With every Hyundai Sonata comes one free refugee in a family.
Stop making me laugh. I have to cough when I laugh. I'm still
Even us at Hyundai can't separate refugees from their families. Reunification.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, now back to the sad stuff. Yeah, sorry.
Sanderson Hyundai. I don't know. Sanderson was actually a dealership brand in Phoenix. Fun fact. I don't know if they actually had a Hyundai dealership.
No, or refugees.
They obviously have those.
So yeah, basically that is the thing that is that is why Germany doesn't care that much because of this refugee deal. Because Turkey says, I'm gonna fucking open the borders and everyone will fucking come into your country and take your jobs or something. I don't know. No, he doesn't say that one, but that is like what people are scared of course.
No, I think that they're afraid of like
of everything,
terrorism and shit like that.
Terrorism.
Which
like,
then I don't want to stop.
Wait. No, it's just like no. The thing is that people like Germany. No, the thing is that
they just hate brown people.
Huh?
They just hate brown people.
Yeah. It's basically
Germany. You've done it again.
No, it's and it's not like being scared of terrorism. It's also like the whole like thing. Oh, how do we take care of them and shit like that? Yeah.
Well, maybe Germany should have fucking done a better job at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but Erdogan, he already said it. Like he mentioned it already. He said like, exactly. He said like, oh, if you're gonna like do something, I'm gonna send you refugees, and so that is a problem. The other thing is how we all know, like deutsche Waffen morden in Kurdistan, so töten in Kurdistan. So like German weapons are involved in this conflict. So you have like Thyssen. Of course, you have what's the name? Rheinmetall being involved. You have Leopard. Yeah, those guys. So Leopard panzer, tanks, Leopard tanks. Yeah,
I think they're called Leopard actually in English.
they should. Wait.
They're a German name.
We tend not to translate those things. Yeah.
So Leopard Panzer. So all of these people are involved in. All of these companies are involved in killing in Rojava right now. The thing is,
Turkey is one of the largest nations that Germany exports to.
Exactly. Yeah, we have a great like.
We
have so many deals with Turkey.
The coolest thing is seeing how shitty the German Leopard 2 tanks are. That RPG 7s just ripped them apart.
I know.
And
I've
there's
seen
all
video.
these videos on Twitter of just the SDF just lighting up fucking
good that they
German
only
tanks.
Yeah, good that they only have German. That they
so,
get German.
Germany, keep it up.
Keep sending.
I mean, do not keep sending, but
exactly.
keep making really shittily armored.
Exactly.
Tanks.
So.
I have I have a strategy for dealing with Erdogan right now, which is we get every anarchist in Germany, Western Europe, the whole world, and he threatens open borders, and we just put them on the Greek islands and be like, yeah, go for it, bitch. Let's do this. I'll go for it. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But yeah, you actually had Scandinavia, or Finland was, I think, the first country that stopped arms dealing with Turkey now, in because of this conflict, and. I think
a little late.
Yeah, I mean, we already have the weapons there, so no. But
what's the Finnish arms market like?
That's like fighter jets and shit like that.
That's a Wikipedia hole I want to go down.
Oh no, yes. Sweden's fighter jets.
Yeah, Sweden also said it though, and I think Mars today said that. So our Minister of Foreign Affairs said today that
we will take over what they have.
We will price match Swedish fighter jets.
Export.
Sanderson Hyundai.
Export champion Germany will take over, step in.
Every G36, you get a second G36 half off.
So yeah, basically what the so what the world is doing, some of them, some react. Mast just said, okay, we're also probably maybe going to do it. He said they're going to do it, but you know how that how people talk and then they don't do it. And there was one more thing that I wanted to say. And the guy from the NATO. So that is also a problem. Why? What does it have to do with us? Yeah, well, Turkey is a NATO member, so this is a NATO member starting a war.
Yeah,
and they're
allowed to do that. Everyone forgets that.
Yeah, but don't they have to have justified reasons?
No. Everyone thinks that NATO this is the thing, is that all right.
Okay, maybe
I'm gonna give you
too dumb for that.
No, you're not. No, because it's a general misconception that everyone thinks that NATO is this faction that has to work with the approval of the United States. Mm-hmm. The United States asks for approval of things, as we saw with the Iraq War, which nations can actually say no if they're a member of NATO. Yeah. The United States can get mad. Leaving NATO is very difficult.
Jacques Chirac.
Yeah. However, if you feel that the thing that then is actually really interesting about how the United States made this is that they made NATO kind of autonomous internally, with then also being, you have to kind of subject yourself sort of ish to the United States. You can't go and invade a NATO member. That's a big old no. However, that's happened before, and it's really kind of shown
with Turkey again,
and with Greece. It's really kind of shown the flexibility then of how these international organizations work. A NATO member can declare war on a non-NATO member very easily, actually. And since this is a thing that then is kind of an interesting game to play, because I hate using then this terminology, but this is how foreign policy works in a very disgusting method of that, is then that at which point then will actions be then done on an ally of the United States to then where the point that the United States then kind of has to draw the line if it's done from a NATO member. And it's been proven that the U.S. actually doesn't care all that much, because their skin in the game from the U.S. is typically not that big. It's a sacrifice that they can typically do. Ukraine's another example of this. This was then a big thing that then was done with Ukraine being vital to NATO is true, and Ukraine, if they then join the European Union, Obviously, then their membership in NATO would have then potentially been important. However, then in Euromaidan and the civil war that happened, this and that, it actually proved that the United States didn't give two shits about what then this nation was, because the kind of like cost benefit analysis, liberal nonsense that comes with it is the U.S. being involved in their own conflicts always weighs out than that of whatever NATO or a nation that then potentially could threaten this existence, which was what people were expecting if then like Ukraine's conflict expanded into other nations. And it it is far more complex and far more I don't want to say organic, but it is far more autonomous of an organization, and then we want to give it credit. It's still an extension of US imperialism though.
And at the same time you wouldn't have like another NATO member probably starting a war easily with this NATO member doing
No, but like France has started wars in Mali and no one gives a shit.
But I'm talking about like getting involved in Turkey right now, or like saying, "Oh, you can't do this," or something like that.
They could request
like sanctions
NATO members to get involved.
But Turkey can do military action by themselves.
I know.
As long as they don't attack the United States, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's a NATO partner, so you probably won't like.
Yeah, that's why Turkey and Greece are both in NATO, so that to avoid conflict. Still happens.
Cyprus. Just throwing Cyprus.
But even that example of then Cyprus, because Cyprus is not a member of NATO.
No. Oh shit,
And
see, look how I don't know anything about NATO.
So it's not even like a NATO nation attacking directly a NATO nation.
Okay.
It's two NATO nations disagreeing about a territory. To be fair, because a Greek fascist regime wanted to overthrow the
they want to annex it, basically.
Yeah.
So that's not even truly an example.
Oh, okay.
I just really love the idea that Greece wanted to annex Cyprus, because it was just like,
that's fucking stupid.
No, because like the infrastructure of making sure people can like fucking survive on the existing Greek islands, even though they're like a 10-minute trip away from the capital. Can you imagine if they tried to maintain the existence of Cyprus? It's basically
like right next
Asia.
to Turkey. Or like it's like next to Lebanon, isn't it?
Really cool. Like people from Lebanon get married there. Like
Isn't it Levantine? So like the whole area, like Cyprus.
Exactly.
Cyprus is like Greece's cousin or sister or something like that. Yeah, it's not like
that. It wants to fuck.
Exactly. Yes, but Greeks have like this weird fetish that then Cyprus is also Greece, even though their culture is, I would argue, unique enough to not be Greek, even though they speak Greek.
They have a Greek influence.
But I would. Cyprian culture is like.
I've seen Cyprian culture in the Eurovision Song Contest. That is unique.
We could all see her Cyprian.
She's actually Albanian. She grew up in Greece.
Oh yeah, true. She is Albanian.
Not to be crass, but the Cypriot, whoever's in charge of the stage presentation for Cyprus is very horny. Yeah. In the Eurovision Song Contest. I won't talk about it until 2020.
So, just to be clear, don't do it like Amnesty International and say like
both sides play fair.
That you hope that both sides play fair.
I'm taking my Panzer and I'm going home. And no one gets to use it.
Rob definitely had the best tweet about that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was like, it was exactly that. I hope both teams play fair.
Oh, yeah. So
bring our Rob back.
All right.
So
I just want to say that this last little thing that we very clearly point out that the recurring joke that Greece is Turkey is in fact a joke. It is satire. I am now submitting this to the Finanzamt so that we can get put into the correct tax class for being a satire podcast. Thank you.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Sort out your taxes, folks.
Yeah. So, on another piece of news, and we're sorry if this episode gets a little bit longer because this week has been so just brutal. Yeah. But I do think that these are two good topics to kind of...
Definitely.
We're skipping.
Bust open.
We should also say we are skipping so much. If anyone hasn't been paying attention, it is kicking off in Ecuador, Haiti, Iraq, West Papua. Fucking hell.
Yeah. And we don't have the time to...
No.
Yeah, but read up on
the IMF is bad, first off.
Yeah.
The thing in Ecuador.
IMF is bad. America's bad. That covers both Haiti and Iraq.
And Kurdistan.
Yeah. Indonesian imperialism is bad.
Yeah, probably also backed by the United States. So the United States then again is bad. God, it's so easy to then just,
say the US is bad.
Yeah.
That's it.
So this week we had a terrorist attack in
Halle.
Halle,
Saxony-Anhalt.
The other city I forget the name of, probably also in Saxon, wasn't it?
It was in Saxony-Anhalt, Landsberg. It was a 20-minute drive from it.
Of this thing that the Germans pretend that doesn't exist anymore, which is anti-Semitism in their country. And this guy did a very, I would say, reminiscent of kind of these other right-wing attacks of recent that you have seen in the United States.
Well, the big one that it was most recent to was not the one in the US, the one that was in New Zealand.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. The mosque.
Exactly, yeah. Where you kind of equate Jews and migrants as being this big evil group that then are trying to destroy Europe. Mm-hmm. And it is a rude awakening to Germans who, I don't know, like I don't want to say that then that Germany has forgotten that these things exist, but it does genuinely sometimes feel like that.
Yeah, for anyone who hasn't catched, I'm just going to give the brief rundown here. Just give a roundup of what people understand what happened, because I didn't see this get a lot of international coverage. On Wednesday the 9th, last week, suspected terrorist attack, well, it was a terrorist attack, happened in Saxony-Anhalt in the city village of Halle. At least one offender tried around noon to gain access to the synagogue or the directly adjacent Jewish cemetery in Paulusviertel. The synagogue was fully occupied at the time of the attack, but was not secured by the police, according to various reports. This was, of course, because Jews were celebrating worldwide the highest Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. Which also mentioned at this point that he also attacked a Dönerladen, a kebab shop in the nearby area. That's where one of the deaths came from. Another death came from someone who was basically yelled at him when he was trying to break into the synagogue, a woman who was shot several times in the back. The whole thing was being live streamed on Twitch. That was quickly taken down, but according to Twitch, about 22,000 people viewed that. He had a manifesto online beforehand. The whole thing is incredibly reminiscent of the attack in the mosque in New Zealand.
Where he quoted Anders Breivik and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yes. According to the guy's manifesto, he was inspired by Anders Breivik and I've forgotten the guy's name, but the guy from the New Zealand attack. Again, the conspiracy theory is the guy's name was Balliet, I guess, or Ballier, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Denied the Holocaust on his motive for the attack. He says the feminism led to fewer births, so there is a mass immigration that was being controlled by the Jews. Usual great replacement mixed in with the good
typical
old,
stuff. Yeah.
Weird protocols of Zion nonsense. He most of the stuff was basically the reason the death toll wasn't higher was because all of his equipment was homemade.
Yeah, he got parts sent from the dark web, and then he built it together.
I actually learned that from TJX6.
Do you know how to do that?
No, I was watching an interview with him, and he was saying that then when you buy weapons on the dark web,
they come in pieces.
They come in pieces, and they're handmade.
Yeah.
Which is also
with
the thing,
3D printer.
Some of those. Also the thing too in Munich, 5 years ago. Same similar situation to the guy. Yeah. So I mean, because unlike the situation in the United States or in the New Zealand thing, that they were able to go on that rampage thing because of that.
Naturally enough, this is, as Nick was saying, has kind of brought the discussion of anti-Semitism in Germany to the forefront. But I think it's also worth pointing out that based on his actions on the day and his manifesto, that he kind of has Jewish people and the kind of predominantly Muslim refugees from and guest workers from Turkey, obviously, or former guest workers, but are probably all German now.
They're in the same category.
They're in the same category as far as he's concerned, yes.
Yeah, and I think that, because this is kind of the thing that then was really hard to, if we were even going to kind of talk about this issue on the on this episode because it is so hard to navigate German Nazism, or if this even like fits in the in the typical characterization of old neo-Nazism, because like you could maybe even argue that it is like a more internationalized, like internet-based, conspiratorial neo-Nazi bullshit thing.
Yeah. He referred to himself as Anon, which is like from like 4chan boards.
Yeah,
and
that sounds like the typical not the typical, but the 4chan Nazi stuff.
But I think that also at the same time, if you do that in the sense of Germany, you are just completely discounting the sense of a history with the NSU murders, which followed a very similar rhetoric of that then Jews and migrants and stuff like that fall under the same category of this world conspiracy thing.
The whole thing kind of goes back to like that was a nasty thing as well, the cultural Bolshevism.
Exactly.
That was like the Jews are masterminding. Like that's the reason jazz is so popular, is because the Jews did it or something. Like that's none of this is new. It's just that it's kind of apparent that where he kind of maybe first heard it, or where he was getting like that opinion reinforced, was online and in English. I didn't mention this earlier, but when he was live streaming, he was speaking English, not German.
Okay.
So he wanted to broadcast it, like to show it to like an online, like kind of like the online audience. Like
there's two ways you can kind of look at it. Of like he did that so that it went to a larger audience, but you could also say that he did that because that was where he was. That was the language he was getting this information
exactly
from.
I mean that is also like the language, if you like look into like forums like that or something, or you see stuff that is happening on 4chan, they are speaking English to each other. They're from like Hungary, they're from Germany, the US, like, I mean,
even look in
Russia,
in our Discord though.
You
don't even have to look into a sense of like neo-Nazism. If you want to then if you have an internet community, the language that you communicate is in English.
I know. I just find that really interesting. It's not like, of course, it's not the fucking first time that an idea of like something like a coalition of the right, you know.
Yeah.
But this is kind of like, this is to a new level. It's kind of like right wing. Like exactly, and this weird thing of right-wing internationalism that people like talk about, and it's like an idea that is new to the right, you know, like to.
Because I mean, even like thinking about like in the 1930s and 1940s, there was an attempt of that, but it was always in the sense of like.
Do you mean like with
You would have, I mean, like the idea then of like of international Bolshevism or Judeo-Bolshevism or whatever, cultural Bolshevism, that whole Nazi theory that then originates in the 1920s. The only way that you would spread those ideas is then by reading a book that then was potentially written in a different language, translated by a publishing house in your country. Henry Ford's book was published in Nazi Germany.
Of course it was.
What is that? I think it's like a six-part series, like the International Jew.
Jesus Christ.
You know, everyone forgets
title.
he wrote a book about how the Jews are controlling the world.
I know.
We don't.
But that's the thing of the matter is that then it wasn't people like, I mean, it's a different era without the internet, but still, back then it was kind of the thing of that then you were still interacting with in a typical sense of then how you would read.
I think it was, I think probably the best way to like encapsulate this feeling is that previous attempts of this felt like a confederation of different right-wing forces. Everything still had like a very local character, but they would stand in, for a lack of a better term, solidarity with each other. Whereas now it's starting to feel like they're more cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, exactly. Because they keep referring to each other. Like they, it's like Breivik, the thing that.
Who also wrote his manifesto in English.
Exactly. And
if I'm not mistaken, right?
Breivik.
I think he did, So, and people take these incidents as like part of their like history of their fight, you know, or whatever they believe they are doing, and they keep referring to it. They keep referring to incidents that are like happening all over the world, and to like icons of like right-wing terrorism.
Yeah.
You know, and this is like a very...
Yeah, the both Anders Breivik and Brenton Harrison, who's the guy from Brenton Harrison Tarrant, who is from the Christchurch. They're both online in these communities referred to as Saint. Saint Tarrant.
Exactly.
And Saint
Breivik.
Yeah,
and I think that then like it's hard. I mean, like, well, obviously, we have so many ideas and of things to do kind of about this because it is such a big problem in Germany, not even just Europe as a whole, but the connection then of the nation that then did the Holocaust and the attempt of then understanding far right-wing extremism within Germany now today is like kind of something we have to like deal with in like multiple chapters, But I think that then the thing that then so telling about this within Germany is that then like, yeah, okay, this incident happened with this attack. I think because it was done in such a similar fashion, it then to be fair, like a lot of Germany's kind of already forgotten about it within like 3 days. Like it is like it wasn't like it wasn't like the death toll of Anders Breivik. It wasn't like the death toll than like in
Christchurch.
In Christchurch, it's easier, I think, to brush under the rug. But the thing that then I think is really hard for a lot of people to then encapsulate too is then just like how this right-wing terror in Germany is like also extremely normalized with what's not reported. And so we have, the last statistic I read about it was during August, I believe, and it said that there were 600 attacks on refugee centers in Germany from the far right. And I don't know about any listeners to the show, but when have you heard that statistic?
Yeah. The other one that I encountered recently, which was one I encountered recently, but it's not a recent statistic, was that in the first half of this year, I think this was originally reported, though, in August again, there was 404 anti-Semitic attacks within Berlin alone.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Berlin is, I guess, considered one of the more progressive cities in Germany. So,
and the most recent one being an attempted knife attack at the old synagogue in Mitte. And I think that that's ultimately a thing, too, is that then this discussion about terrorism within Europe has predominantly been dominated by one of that then, and it is the other coming and doing this and that and that. But because Germans aren't affected by this, white Germans aren't affected by this type of terrorism. This is,
white Christian
Germans are not affected by this. This type of terrorism, which lighting a refugee center on fire is you can't deny that isn't terrorism.
Of course it is.
Regardless if a person dies or not. Throwing Molotov cocktails at that is.
It's and it is like it has its history in Germany because you had this incident in Rostock that was
in the 90s
where people would like go to a refugee, like a home where people with like migrational background would live, and first of all they started like gathering and shouting and like insulting and what's the name, like and in the end they would light it on fire.
This tactic is still used today.
It is still it is the typical thing,
but because it doesn't affect white Christian Germans, you don't see this reported.
And because a lot of in Rostock you had the people standing in front of the house and watching people but in a lot of cases you don't see who does it, you don't see anyone like
the police doesn't happen to come half the time either.
Exactly. They say like, this is just
it's interesting you mentioned the police. Actually, I have some
what about German police?
Some fun stuff about that, unfortunately. If I remember correctly, there was a situation. Well, first of all, you have there's been reports that our good old friends the Verfassungsschutz have been spending their time.
So it's like the German FBI for you who don't.
Yes. Which again, I'm mad at Germany that they haven't come up with like a nice, cute, abbreviation for this. Like you guys have the Stasi. I'm proposing Verfassung.
Verfassung. That almost sounds like I like it because it a bit sounds like fascist, so it's kind of fitting.
It also reminds me of my Schufa, which I'm also equally terrified of. But they've been basically a report recently out from the Bavarian office of the Verfassung is the. Basically, they've been spending a lot of their time and resources monitoring Fridays for Future,
Cool. There's so much.
That's dangerous. Like those kids not going to. What is with your Schulpflicht? Come on. That is.
I just imagine the FDP just being like, yes, this is what we need this for.
Yeah. I want to say that they have really solid proof, which is at a recent Friday for Future thing at demonstration in Munich. They did see a Linksjugend solid banner on it.
Not Linksjugend solid.
So German society, as we know, is going to collapse.
Yeah.
That's the thing too, is that Germany, because this discussion's happening in the United States right now with Antifa, is that then all the the terrorist attacks that Antifa has done in the United States amounts to zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how much of the debate is surrounding that, which then in the United States, I would be very curious to wonder what the statistics are of right-wing terrorism in the United States, because it isn't just mass shootings. It is growing up in a border state. I know for a fact that it is militias that then patrol the border who get away with so much, murder and bullshit like that.
Murder, abuse, and stuff like that.
Extrajudicial by the police.
Exactly, yeah. And that, in my opinion, falls into the exact same category as lighting a refugee center on fire.
And also in Germany, again, I just want to bring this up, recently in Hesse, police officers were dismissed.
Hesse or Hessen?
Hesse, with the E at the end, not the N.
Okay. That does exist,
Police officers there were dismissed before completing their education because they were caught exchanging racist and anti-Semitic text messages with one another. But again,
there was a guy literally planning on killing people together with a lawyer or something, and he was a fucking police officer.
Yeah. But it is kind of a case of listeners at home, I want you to absorb that information that I just said, and then also absorb Yulia and Nick's reaction, who have lived in Germany far longer than I have, of kind of rolling their eyes, being like, another day.
Another day, another racist police officer in Germany. And because it's the same thing in the U.S. too, when you hear that, in the sense of the most recent thing being the murder and disappearance of a lot of Ferguson activists.
Oh, fuck.
A lot of Black Lives Matter
exactly,
activists showing up dead.
How is that then any different in this rhetoric?
Yeah. Before this happened,
except that they actually murdered the people. That's I guess the big difference in the U.S.
So before this happened with the synagogue, lately there have been a lot of or it was the third time memorial sign for the NSU, so Nationalsozialistischer Untergrund, which was a German right-wing terrorist group. A memorial site was damaged or destroyed by right-wing extremists, I would guess.
Yeah.
And that was these incidents just happened before all of this that happened in Halle, and it's just a thing. With NSU, it's still a thing that is still there, that is still not really has been spoken about enough. Yeah. I think in German society.
How many witnesses have been killed?
5. 5 witnesses have been died of natural causes.
Okay.
5 witnesses.
Bullet wounds or natural causes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Diabetes or suicide. That's what they.
That's literally that fucking CIA thing of that. Yeah. Then this person was found where they committed suicide with 2 gunshots to the head.
Exactly, stuff like that.
That literally that was who was that shit? The guy who
building a car bomb for your own car or something like that.
That was
and
the
you could
thing.
just slit your wrists.
Yeah, the guy who discovered the the CIA or the FBI's crack ring. In the 80s, ended up dead with
suicide.
2 bullet wounds. Yeah, he killed himself by shooting himself twice in the
back
of the head.
I think this is a very patronizing attitude you're taking, Nick. Have you considered that he was just really fast and cool? I can shoot myself twice before dying.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Oh God! I did kind of want to just go through a bit of a list of historical.
Oh no, this is going to take on. This is going to go really long.
Okay, so I'm not going to do a comprehensive list
because it's important though. Because
because I was actually very hard to find this. I did find a very good article by Barbara Mantha, who is basically considered one of the experts on right-wing terrorism in Germany from 1970 to 1990, specifically focusing on West Germany. But she's also was involved in like investigating NSU and stuff like that. But she had a very good article about women in right-wing terrorism. Women, you're cancelled. That's right. I've got receipts. All right, but like
all women are Nazis.
Yeah, that's what I've learned. That's like weird kind of horseshoe theory, right?
Yeah.
Like with the shooter at Halle.
It's also kind of weird that we're talking about women's terrorism right now. It's like, but this is a weird one.
But also horseshoe theory because according to the
Minister of Foreign
Affairs of Turkey.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
That's why I mentioned that. That was what I just.
Well, you have to say horseshoe theory.
Oh yeah, sorry, horseshoe theory.
The horseshoe is a crescent moon. All right, yeah, but this was like.
I cannot tell the difference between the YPG and Nazis.
Yeah, German Nazi.
I am blind and deaf.
I literally imagine a liberal in the U.S. making that point in about a week.
Yeah.
Waiting for the New York Times point about how, it is going to happen.
Didn't Mike Pompeo already?
He already said that they were terrorists.
Didn't he say like all Kurds are terrorists?
Yeah, he did. There is also one more thing. I have to, back to the Kurdistan thing before you get to that.
Yeah.
There is a fake thing that then has been going around for years that then is typically from like weird Assadists. That there is a genocide that the Kurds have been doing to Assyrian Christians, which is actually a thing that has never happened. And the only thing that then has published it has been like a really weird, like pro-Turkey paper.
Yeah.
If you ever see that, don't believe it. It never actually happened.
Because the people dying right now, like the first victims were Assyrian Christians, actually.
Who then now showed solidarity with the YPG.
You had forces, you had people joining the YPG now because they said like, okay, we're gonna like fight for these people because they protected us during like the whole they freed us from ISIS. So
that's one pet peeve I've had because whenever anyone then has that's apparently like the trump card for that. And apparently from what I heard that was a thing that ISIS did where they were pretending to dress as the YPG.
Right.
Which happened like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Solid.
Because that was an ISIS tactic, I guess, a while ago.
That's some like Looney Tunes shit.
Literally, yeah. And I think that then even like what's his name? The one that Chapo interviewed, who was part of the YPG. He like briefly mentioned that of the sense that then there was like because Amnesty got mad at the YPG too, of like you're committing genocide.
Amnesty is
those
I want both sides.
Yeah, both sides to play fair. But
Amnesty.
he like briefly mentioned that, and I think that's like a thing that then a lot of people forget is that then like a tactic of ISIS for a while was to like dress as other people, which is like really weird to imagine.
Yeah, that is very like that's something Bugs Bunny would do against Elmer Fudd.
Turkey actually does that where they make fake videos and they try to dress as the YPG and they get the labeling of things wrong. So they get the patches wrong, they get the way that the uniforms look all wrong. So if you see these videos like people getting beaten to death by YPG members, which are horrible videos to watch, they're faked videos by Turkey.
Wow.
Which is really weird to imagine. And like a lot of really good activists of Kurdish activists have actually gone and pointed out that then like this uniform's wrong for this and this and this reason. But it's amazing the amount of propaganda that you see that then is done on
if
that
you
level.
just look at the hashtag Turkey is fighting Turkey is killing terrorists. Yeah, it's a Twitter hashtag, and you see a lot of.
I don't want to do that.
You see a lot of pictures of Turkish soldiers hugging kids and petting kids' head or like saving children, basically. And it's funny because sometimes they add like extra smoke in the background and stuff like that to make it so that it looks more dramatic. And it's basically
they purposely like mistranslate things. And stuff like that.
Yeah, they tend to do that as well. But it's like really, it's interesting. There's a lot of like Turkish soldiers with kids on the internet, on Twitter right now.
Yeah. Sorry to just derail it. That was the thing that then I felt I had to like quickly clear up because I see that way too often and it really bugged me because it just is factually not true. Yeah. And good on you, fact checkers who know the uniforms and the Kurdish language very well. So good on you.
And like for everyone in like quote unquote the West who thinks we're above this, I want to remind people that The former leader of Scottish Labour, Kezia Dugdale, who was a Blairite, did do a campaign video where she had one of her interns dress up as like a member of the SNP, the Scottish National Party, and then she won a go-kart race against them.
that is comparable.
But that feels very Erdogan to me. I don't know why. I feel like he would do that. But all right. So yeah, again, this was the only list I could find of like some terrorism attacks that happened within Germany, but like it has been a thing that's been ongoing. It is something that happens. I'm gonna pronounce all these German words incorrectly, and Julia's gonna giggle. Yay! So. We have, like, in 1980, we have the Deutsche Aktiengruppen.
Aktionsgruppe.
Aktiengruppen?
Aktiengruppe, like stock market.
Do you want me to read it?
No. I like it because he says Aktiengruppe, and it, you know, what an Aktiengruppe is. So it's like a stock. Yeah.
So we had, like, they were committing arson. They killed Vietnamese refugees in the 1980s. Mm-hmm. You had the Schutzgruppe in 2005.
You actually pronounced that right. Good job.
Sick. Mm-hmm. They had a planned attack against a Jewish center in Munich. They were foiled before they got ahead with that. Let's see. We have the Otte group and the Ul Fulfgram group. All right. Who in the late 70s and early 80s were doing a lot of bank robberies, but also neo-Nazi group. And then, of course, we come back to the big old classic that we'll probably have to do our own episode on, the NSU. Yeah. Yeah, National Socialist Underground.
Yep.
Yeah. That is like a brief overview of like women involved in right-wing terrorism, but there is more, for sure. Yeah.
So I know that we didn't cover everything. We could definitely go on deeper about this. I think that we're gonna. I do think the nature of this week has been the fact that we can just this has been just like a venting session for us. Yeah.
Can we just really quickly like also talk about women in right-wing terrorism?
Oh yeah,
and,
sure.
Like and like because a normal cliche would be like like all of this like blood and soil stuff that means a woman has to be in the kitchen, shit like that. Is not very active, you know, is there to make German babies and to cook for you, maybe like some make your Mettbrötchen in the morning or something like that. Yeah. But actually these women active in these groups, I would say they are very active and they're very crucial to the groups. Because actually that was kind of like the strategy Beate Schäpe's lawyers used, saying like, oh yeah, she was fucking like in love with both of the Uwes. And she was just a victim and stuff like that. Well, her lawyers, actually not the first, I don't know that much about the first group of lawyers, but the second group of lawyers is very known to be they were lawyers for right-wing groups and actually people that were Nazis. They were Nazi lawyers. So it was a group of Nazi lawyers, and they always like referred to stuff like the Rudolf Hess, what they called the killing of Rudolf Hess. You know what Nazis like to.
He died when he was like 80 years old and fucking.
He was fucking old.
Yeah, he died in fucking Spandau. Yeah, he definitely got murdered.
So stuff like that.
He should have been murdered.
So they refer.
Yeah,
he should have.
The fact that he quietly died in prison in Germany is like beyond me. That he wasn't executed during the Nuremberg trials it's really weird to imagine.
Yeah, but stuff like that. So, but they used this like kind of like cliche of the woman. Like what we think when we think about right-wing women, we think of this kind of like gender inequality in theory, but.
They have a vital role.
They have a vital role.
So there's even like influencers that are like.
There's like this Nazi influencer. She's an influencer and she's a Nazi and she like makes Blut und Boden look very aesthetic on the internet.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I just it's something that like Barbara Mantha brings up in her article. I think we might link it in the description because it is just I found it very fascinating.
Yeah.
She does talk about how there is like this is not only the Nazis' problem. This is like a public perception problem that we kind of make this assumption that women in this movement are going to be like unobtrusive, no particular role, maybe a confidant at best. And it is very, very unclear how much of that is true and how much of that is just a defense taken up by the women who do get caught, because It was, you mentioned Späti from the NSU, but it was Christina Heveke, who was from the Otto group and Ulf Wolfgram group. While she was in prison, she was imprisoned in like 1983, and during her time in prison, she wrote an autobiography that is kind of like considered the guide for women in these movements, or like what has been happening, and she does kind of like say in that if women got caught, they would downplay their own role.
Yeah, of course.
I think that in the sense too is that we have like this general understanding of like this is like my last point for the night because is that I always kind of get the feeling that then like the way that women are dealt with in like our understanding of women in Nazi groups is kind of similar to like women in like biker gangs.
Yeah.
Is that we have this very much this understanding of that then it's very like oppressive and that they're just like there to like, you know, be the biker bitch and this and that and that.
But then you watch Sons of Anarchy and you see that it's all like Gemma doing this stuff.
No, but in
she's a weird queen.
No, but in all seriousness, the gender dynamic in biker gangs we actually don't know because there hasn't been enough time of like sociologists spending time in biker gangs. So a lot of it's just an assumption of how like
Diane Fossey,
but in all seriousness, it is really, really, really funny because all that we know from how like these social relations work, or either from biker gangs telling about it, and they're not really like, I wouldn't say they're all that reliable a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Or from police stings, which are also not very reliable.
No.
So I mean that just like is kind of like.
Actually,
yeah, I don't know. Just for me, it was like kind of like some of the things that like kind of came to my mind with thinking about this because there's a lot of ideas, and within that, then that the role of women in biker gangs is actually like far more complex than we actually like acknowledge.
Yeah, and I can just tell from my own like experience on Facebook where I find like some of the Nazi girls. They are very like they appear as very like strong and confident women, you know, and they are very outspoken. They comment a lot. They share a lot. They most of the times are also vegetarians because they have this weird, you know, this weird vegetarian Nazi, the Nipser kind of.
Hitler was a vegetarian.
Yeah, exactly. This Nipser stuff.
Yeah.
Saying that a lot of the times, of course, your dog, your pit bull, is more important than the life of a Jewish person or Turkish person or whatever, you know. But there are
my skateboard's more important than Germany. Isn't that a really bad song?
That is a song. No, mein Skateboard ist wichtiger als Deutschland. Yeah. You think it's a bad song? It's Terrorgruppe. But German punk. We can talk about that.
We can do an episode on that.
I can talk about that. But saying that they are out there, they also like present themselves. They present themselves as like being Deutsche Mädels or whatever they would call themselves. Yeah, and they have a very tough look a lot of the times. Like they have tattoos and piercings and weird haircuts. Like a lot of like the skin girls, for example.
Yeah. Well, think about even in the sense of like just like damn it, I said that my other thing was the last thing, but like looking at then like the U.S. in that weird fascist culture.
Yeah, they have the operator look or the military look or something like that. Yeah, and they're shooting, they're doing stuff, they're doing.
Which is why we have to defend Rojava. Because
those are the real women.
Those are the real women. Yes.
The good strong.
You thought you were a woman and you weren't in Rojava. I hate to break to. So like I think like Nick said, this topic leads to like a whole mess of other topics from this week. We'll probably explore all of these things a lot further. Like
in due time.
Like I know personally I want to do more about Rojava, and more will happen over the coming weeks, I'm sure. I also want to do an episode on NSU.
Yep.
There's like a whole other angle we didn't talk about, which is just how fucked East Germany is. Yeah. Because this did happen in East Germany.
We talked about that briefly in our very, very, very first episode. I'm not going to say go back and listen to it because it's just bad and long.
We also talked about it in the D-Link episode.
Yeah, but I think that we do need to revisit that in a more concise, better format now that we've kind of got our shit together a little bit. But yeah. The world's sad and bad. Mm-hmm. Do we got anything to shout out this week?
Go to go look. Like there are a lot of like on Twitter. There are a lot of sites that regularly post the days for protesting against the attacks from Turkey, like in Rojava. So go like see it if you live in Germany or if you live like where it doesn't matter.
Look it up.
Yeah.
You definitely will have something in Germany due to like a lot of people from that region of the world being here.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't be surprised if there's shit going on in the UK, like
or in Sweden.
The trade unions in the UK already petitioned to have the government like denounce the actions of Turkey.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So there's stuff happening everywhere.
The only country that you may not find action in is Turkey.
Nothing official, maybe not broadcasted too loudly. Yeah.
But go like look for like the dates and go protest this shit. Yeah, talk about it, like share it.
Don't stand Turkey.
No. This is the only week of this podcast where we won't ironically stand Turkey.
Yeah, no, I can't. Sorry.
I guess to leave on a lighter note, I will say that the original version was actually Where's Wally? It was changed for America. For whatever reason, I don't know. The German is indeed Walter.
That's what I said.
But let's have some international fun here, all right? International. This is internationalism.
Okay.
The Danish is Holger.
Wo ist Holger?
Wo ist Holger?
Wo ist Holger?
The Hebrew is Effie.
That's cute.
That is pretty cute. The Greek is Goali. Can you do a better job with that, Yulia?
Guoli.
Nick is coming around to the computer.
Guoli.
Yeah.
That's what I said it right. Yeah, I said it right. I can read that shit.
So yeah, it's because there's no W in Greek, so you can't make Wally.
There's a lot of people use a V instead for sure. I want to before I go, I do want to shout out one others, which is for example, the French is Où Charlie. This is Charlie.
Where's Charlie though?
The Vietnamese is Van Lang, and Sweden could not make up their goddamn mind because it's Waldo, Valle, and Hugo. All three are viable options.
Wait.
Maybe it was just that's the superior Swedish education system. You have to find three guys.
Hell yeah.
All right, interesting. I like Vietnamese Van Lang. Van Lang.
I just really find it funny that Greek tried their hardest to keep it original.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. Yeah. So we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.